everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call this public hearing to order. Public comment is on the County Board Chairman's redeveloped apportionment plan pursuant to Section 5.2/3003, Section 3, and 5.2/3003, Section 5 of the Illinois County's Code, 55 ILCS 5/2/3003, and 5/2/3003, Section 5. So we're going to get through. We've got a couple people interested to be in on the phone, and as soon as we make contact, we will open up public comment.
Your conference will begin. Continue to hold.
Technology.
There are 3 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference at the host. For a menu of available commands, press *.
Okay, so we've opened the public hearing, and now we will open up public comment. If you'd stand up, you don't have to state your name and address for the record, but it certainly helps. Try to keep your comments to about 2 minutes this evening if possible. And so who'd like to go first? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to make some comments. So, as I'm sure you guys remember, I spoke last week about this map that was proposed, and there's a lot of people that made comments. The house was packed. There was a lot of people here. A lot of people made comments, and I'm assuming that there was no changes that have been made since that time. But what I wanted to do is just read a little bit from the statute. It's also on your agenda. And then also read or kind of list off some of the things that I think are what I would call the greatest hits when it comes to how this map violates the statute. So if you look at the statute, it says that you may divide townships or municipalities only when necessary to conform to the population requirement of paragraph A of this section. So then if you look at this map, you've got Belleville Township, for example, which has a population of 42,000 people, but it has, at least that I'm aware of, 13 different county board districts. Canteen Township is 7,000 people, 6 divisions. One of the worst ones, St. Clair Township, also has 13 divisions, even though it only has 35,000 people. One that's super interesting to me was Lynchburg. So, as I'm sure you know, Lynchburg only has 958 people in the township, but it's got 2 different county board members. So those are some of the worst township divisions. But then if you continue to read the statute, it says that it shall be created in such a manner that no precinct be divided between 2 or more districts, insofar as practical. So then I pulled a list of, well, what's the, you've got 215 precincts in St. Clair County, and 111 of those precincts are divided at least into 2 county board districts, with some of the worst offenders, like Caseyville 12, being divided into 6 different county board districts. So imagine being a precinct committeeman or even a voter in Caseyville 12 and having to figure out where, who is my county board member? There's 6 that, you can go street by street, and, if you go north to south, there's a pretty good chance if you go street by street, you're going to cross through 6 different county board districts. So I think it's a blatant violation of this statute, both the Part C and Part D. I mean, I honestly feel a little sorry for Tom Holbrook when he has to prepare these ballots, and he's going to have to say, okay, Caseyville 12, I've got to have 6 different county board districts. How many ballots do you print? Because you don't know how many people from each of those districts are going to show up on election day. And think of the cost of that when you multiply this out, when you've got 111 divided split precincts, varying, you know, from 2 to 6 different county board districts, that's a lot of ballots to be printing, a lot of, it's a burden on any of our precinct committeemen, it's a burden on those election judges when people come in and say, hey, I want to vote, but I don't know what county board district that I'm in. So I think that there's a lot of problems with this map, and that if someone were to challenge it, that it wouldn't hold up. So those are kind of my comments. That's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to address the board? Yes, sir.
So, as Michael mentioned, Caseville 12 is my precinct, and so he's speaking directly to the issue I would have if we had 6 county board members within my precinct. I'd have to work all those county board districts. He also mentioned the aspect of ballot printing. We're also going to be talking about removing one of the districts, going from 29 districts in St. Clair County down to 28. Obviously, we could go down further, 25, 23 districts, and decrease. If we talk about cost savings, why not reduce it additionally? Why just one? That would also help address some of the issues with multiple districts crossing these precinct lines if we had fewer districts to worry about. So I would suggest that this map be tabled and think about saving money not only in ballot printing costs, but also in board member costs if we're going to try to save money in that fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would also like to ask that this be tabled. We know that this issue is in litigation right now, and I don't think it's fair for you guys to vote on that while it's in litigation.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Oh, yes.
I would like to ask, first of all, if you have considered, my name is Mary Thurman and I'm from Shiloh. If you've considered any of the many comments that were given at the last public meeting as part of your consideration, you know, for making changes, have you done so?
So this public hearing is for you to express your concerns, and certainly they've been listened to. You're welcome to make any of those comments here. This is the forum for that.
My question is, has there been any action on any of the specific comments that were made?
This map is the same map as was presented at the last meeting.
So do you plan to vote immediately after these public comments today?
So there will be a judiciary committee meeting that will occur after this, and then the county board will convene and we'll vote on the map later on this
So
evening.
it will be voted on immediately after public comments that are not being considered for any changes.
Well, as I said, there will be a county board meeting at 7:30 tonight. It's not immediately, but it is later on this evening. The map will be voted on.
It just seems to me like this is
Sir, hold on, this lady's not finished yet.
Sorry.
That's okay, I'll yield some time to him to come back.
Well, this is your time. He had his time.
My other thought is, as I brought up last week, the way the map is drawn, is I believe it disenfranchises voters. He talked about the precincts that are crossed and divided. Voters are used to going where they used to go to vote, and they're used to having information for their precinct, from their precinct committeemen. The burden of getting the information to
that I wanted to say that I find it very interesting that, first of all, let me say that I'm a former Air Force officer. And so I've taken the constitutional oath more than once in my life. I took it as an enlisted guy in the Navy, and I took it also as an officer in the Air Force. And so I stood up, raised my hand to protect and to serve the Constitution. I'm sure you guys took an oath to somewhat of the same type of an oath to serve the people. So last meeting we had everything from gentlemen. Here was a black gentleman that was a pastor of a church. He was upset about the matter. We have Democrats in the room. They're upset about the matter. We have Republicans in the room. They're upset about the matter. So to me, it seems fundamentally wrong that something is going on with the map that needed to be addressed. And so no changes have been made. And I find that to be very, I don't even know what the word is, but I find it ironic that with all these different groups of people telling you that it is wrong for you guys to do this and then vote on it without all the procedures and statutes being met, that every time that we come here, you never make the changes that the people have stood up to speak about. So that's basically my comment. So I don't understand what's the purpose in having hearings if you're just simply going to ignore what the people want over versus what you want.
Anyone else wishing to address? Yes, ma'am.
Mark Viviano, and I live in O'Fallon, precinct 16, that's up in the north part of O'Fallon. I've always been in the O'Fallon group, but for some reason, and I'm not real sure why, you have taken me out of O'Fallon, of which I live. I've been totally disenfranchised from my city that I live in, and I'm now in Mascoutah. 17 miles I drive to get to Mascoutah from where I live. How can that even be?
17 miles apart.
Yeah, from where I live, whereas before, I was maybe 2 miles away from my county board member. And I think it's very suspicious why you do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening?
I have one last thing to say. You don't have to be blind or an idiot to see that this is clear gerrymandering of votes to keep one party in control.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you work for we the people.
Yep.
Not government was set up with two parties to do a check and balance so that everything was fair for we the people. Right, by the people, for the people. Not by the few, for the few. And it's time for you to do your job, sir, and do it fair, follow the rules, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Okay, we close the public hearing and
Wait, may I add one little short thing? One of the things I think that has happened this time with this map, and probably some of the other maps that have been so questionable that people have objected to, is that people are seeing, there's a sunshine effect. Your constituents that you're supposed to represent are seeing this for what it is. And like the way he said, it is across the board, it's not partisan, and it is definitely having an effect on your constituents. Because the more the people know, the more visibility, and that's what public meetings are for. People are participating now. And it's going to be harder and harder for the power base to perpetuate itself in the future. And the fact that you have not considered the input of your voters is really objectionable and disturbing. It's a lack of respect.
thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Deb Barnes. I'm in St. Clair 13, and I would just like to ask my county board member, Sue Guberman, to vote no for this map.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just one simple question. I don't know if you'll answer it, but I remember at the previous meeting, I'm Kevin Schmidt from Millstock, you said that you, in drawing the map, gathered information from a wide range of county board members. So can you name the Republican county board members that helped draw this map?
So since April, I've met with most every county board member on the board. So I don't want to
No names.
No names?
I just told you, I met with most every county board member.
Most every, okay.
But then they asked.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll conclude the public hearing, and we will then, come back and vote at the special county board meeting at 7:30 p.m. So the public hearing is adjourned. Thank you all for attending, we appreciate it.